take projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking On Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing?
I am good. How are you today, sir?
I'm pretty good. Here live from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Nice.
Down here working the Jazz Fest. How's your week been, man?
Pretty good. Kind of busy. How's yours been?
About the same. We got down here Tuesday and went right to work. It's working out at the fairgrounds with all the damn flies. They're real bad this year, but it's good. Little housekeeping for our listeners before we get started here. We'll go on a little hiatus after today's episode. Just with scheduling, won't be able to record until maybe Mother's Day, if we're both free. If not, it'll be the week after that. But yeah, so there'll be about a month hiatus for us after this episode. Give us a chance to build up some things to talk about. In between that, we'll have at least the first two rounds of the NBA playoffs completed and NFL draft. We'll be almost a couple months in the baseball season by then, so we should have a good episode by then. But that's the future. This is now. And we'll kick off this week with said...
You guys don't miss us too much.
Yes, you guys will miss. I know. Don't cry. Don't be sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, NBA playoffs officially started yesterday. Of course, the play-in was earlier this week. So yeah, let's see. We'll get the early reactions. What do you think about the play-in tournament, first of all, Greg?
Well, I mean, we got what the Laker Minnesota game was, pretty good game there. Of course, it would have been better had had there not been that suspension, but that was a pretty good game. Let's see, the Heat's first game was pretty good there. But I like it. I mean, it's pretty entertaining. For the most part. I guess it gives you that NCAA tournament feel, one and done type situation for the first games. But it kind of sucks when you're that 7th and 8th, and I think we said that before. You're that 7th and 8th, you've kind of already earned the spot there, and you may not make it. Of course, you still get 2 shots at it, but you're still in that one and done feel. But I thought for the most part it was pretty entertaining there.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, it always sucks. Especially like a team like Minnesota, even though they did eventually earn their way in. They won that 8th seed on the last day of the season. Beating the Pelicans, even with Rudy Gobert punching a teammate, and who was it, Jaden McDaniel, whoever broke his hand punching the wall. Which your friendly reminder here from Taking On Sports: never punch walls. The wall always wins, unless you're the Hulk.
Always.
But yeah, it always wins.
All right.
But yeah, like you said, it does add a bit of fun, excitement to it. It gives you a reason not to, tank, to really try hard. We'll get to that with the Mavericks here in a second. But yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It's a real fun watch. It's intense games. But yeah, it's a little unfair to the teams that finish 7th and 8th, especially if you finish. I mean, like the Heat, they finished 3 games ahead, and they lost that first game to the Hawks, and they had to make that big comeback to beat the Bulls, and they could have, been a team that's 6 games over 500 and missed the playoffs, where the Bulls were 2 under 500 made it. But they got their way in, and then over in the West, it was a 7-8 as they finished anyway. So, but yeah, and that's just the way I think sports are going in America right now. Is they're always going to expand the playoffs and look for, just more revenue from these games, from TV contracts and ticket sales and all that. I wouldn't be surprised, if the NBA adds a couple teams through expansion, that they increase the playoffs even somehow. But we'll see. It was fun. Shitty way for the Pel season to end, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's talk first round here, the playoffs. We'll go through the matchups real quick, talk about yesterday's games, maybe make some early round predictions. Of course, over in the East, we have the 1 seed Bucks. They'll play the Heat. They'll start later today. 2 seed Hawks. They won game 1 pretty easily over the 7 seed Hawks. The Celtics beat the Hawks. The 3 seed Sixers, really another one, kind of pulled away from the 6 seed Nets. And then the 5 seed Knicks kind of put a little bit of an upset in game 1 over the Cavs there in Cleveland. Over in the West, most of them starting today. You got 1 seed Nuggets versus 8 seed Timberwolves later tonight. Right now, just tipped off, the 2 seed Grizzlies hosting the 7 seed Lakers. The Kings, the 3 seed, got their first playoff win in 18 years, beating the Warriors in a really good game yesterday. And then that 4-5 matchup, the Suns and Clippers, they'll play later tonight. And some big breaking news right before we started recording here. Paul George is officially out for this series. So that'll that'll lead into our predictions segment. That's a series that everyone was pretty much heavily favoring the Suns already. So that's more bad news for the Clippers there. But give me some first round predictions. What you think here, Greg? Just go through each of these series. Tell me who you like in every one.
Let's start. Yeah, let's see. We'll start in I guess we'll start in the West there. 1-8. I think Denver will win. I think five or 6 games against the Timberwolves. The 2-7, the game on now. Lakers, Grizzlies. I think. I think Memphis in 7. Let's see. The what is it? The 3-6.
3-6 Kings and Warriors.
Kings, Warriors. It's a tough one because the Kings, they, of course, got their first win last night, and Rockets atmosphere. It's good for them to get that win. I know that crowd's been hungry. It's been so long since they've been in the playoffs. I mean, they went from a perennial team you saw all the time, back in the day, but I don't know. It's just hard to go against the Warriors. I think Warriors in 7, and then I think Phoenix in 5 or 6 there. I think they would win before, but without Paul George, arguably the most important player on the. I just don't see the Clippers. They might give them might be some entertaining games, but I just don't think that they have enough to keep with the Suns. A healthy Suns team there. And when KD's played, I mean that Suns team has been dynamic. So.
Yeah. I'll cut in here before we get to the East. I think I pretty much agree there. So you went Denver, Phoenix, Golden State, Memphis.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree there. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think Denver is just too talented for Minnesota. Same what you said about Phoenix, especially with the Paul George news now and KD. I mean, they didn't lose a game with KD, did they? Or maybe one. But
yeah, they went. I think they went 7-0 or 7-1, something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Agree with the Kings. The Kings probably got the best shot of any of these teams we're not picking. Of course, now that we, as usual, they're taking on sports predictions. Now that means Minnesota's going to pull an upset and all that. But the Kings, they got a great offense. It's just that defense. I could easily see, something like, even if like maybe the Kings take the first 2 here in Sacramento, then Golden State might get hot at home and just ride that. And then the Lakers, I know a lot of people were kind of picking in to make a finals run, but I still just don't see them holding up. They played that good game against Minnesota, made a couple clutch plays, but they also, Anthony Davis made that dumb foul. LeBron looked a little tired toward the end of that game, made a lazy pass on the inbounds in overtime that Minnesota could have tied it up on. And I think the Grizzlies with that home court, they're tough at home, and they're a really exciting, young, athletic team that can kind of wear out the Lakers. So, yeah, I agree with you on all those. But let's move to the East now. Milwaukee, Miami, who you got?
Milwaukee, Miami. You know what? The Heat, they're a talented team. I mean, they're a, that's a tricky 8 team because there's a lot of talent there, and they can very well be a much better seeded team. But the Bucks, I think, win in 6. How about you?
Bucks and 6, I like that. I might even take them sooner than that, maybe 5, maybe even a sweep. A lot of the Bucks' success this postseason too, if Chris Middleton can get healthy, that's such
All
a
right.
huge part for them. But it also depends, if like Drew Holiday is more consistent on the offensive end. They're just so good defensively
Right.
with Giannis and Brooks Lopez and Drew Holiday. That's such a tough team, and for a team like Miami that has these periods where they struggle offensively, it's just hard to see them pulling out a 7-game
Mhm.
upset. That 4-5
Yeah, for sure.
matchup,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's hard to beat the Bucks 4 times.
yeah, it really is hard to beat the Bucks 4 times in such a short span. Um, that 4-5 matchup, as we said, the Knicks got game 1 in Cleveland yesterday. So who you got there?
That's a series. I think that might be one of the best first round series we have. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of a lot of talent there. The Knicks have come a long way. Didn't have a lot of expectations coming into the season there. The Cleveland kind of went all in there with Adam Spider there, and really, they've have a good dynamic going. First time since what '98 that they made the playoffs without LeBron, so that's something there. But the Knicks looked really good yesterday. Got Rockets atmosphere in Cleveland, got the win. But I think this is going to distance. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say Cleveland in 7. I think Cleveland gets it done there.
Oh, here's where we disagree. Actually, I think the Knicks pull it out. Cleveland's a really talented team, really good defensively, but something about just the way that kind of Knicks attitude. It's not quite those '90s Knicks yet. Nothing will
Yeah,
be, man. That was a different team, but
that was.
especially Brunson, and especially if you get contributions like Obi Toppin and Josh Hart gave them yesterday. That's was a big side, like little side additional pieces to Brunson and Randall the way they
Yeah.
play. So I actually think I think I can go the other way. I'll take the Knicks in like 7. Yeah, I think that's my Eastern Conference upset, if you will. No, 4-5. It's tough, but Philly and Brooklyn, the 3-6. Philly took game 1 yesterday. What you think about it?
Yeah, I'd see Philly winning pretty easily. Sweet maybe 5 at the most. There, I don't see this being that much of a series there. But yeah, I think Philly just handles business. How
Yeah,
about you?
I tend to agree. Yeah, and Embiid's my MVP pick too. Just the way he played this
Yeah,
year, I think he carries them, and I just don't see that Brooklyn team putting up much of a fight against them.
no,
Yeah, and then
no.
last would be Boston, Atlanta, the 2-7. As we said, the Celtics took game 1 yesterday. So how do you think the rest of it goes?
That's one that's the same thing. I'm gonna say Celtics in a sweep there. I just don't think the Hawks definitely don't play good enough defense for Boston. Trey might get some numbers, but yeah, I don't see it being much of a series.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and Trey's a little too inconsistent too sometimes with his numbers.
Yeah,
And he's never really taken that next step in his game to really just take over a whole series like this. We
right.
know he had that big one a couple years ago against New York. Kind of stepped into that villain role, but uh, I don't know. For all
Right.
the talk about as talented as and young as these Hawks teams are, they just don't. They haven't been able to take that next step. Maybe Quinn Snyder's the man
Mhm.
that can coach them there, but I don't think it's this year. Um,
No,
but yeah, that's
especially against the Celtics team.
no, yeah, and the Celtic team, they're too good on defense. They're just too good on defense.
Right.
Even with Jaylen Brown and a mask and a cut finger, cutting himself, watering his plants. That's a new one.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of weird sports injuries,
Definitely,
but that's a new one.
that's a different one.
That's a Hall of Fame one, man. Like we got some Hall of Fame. Usually it's baseball players that have those weird ones, like guys throwing out their back when they sneeze or something like that. But
Knees, yeah.
yeah, that's a weird one, man. But yeah, so like it should be a pretty good first round, I think we had a couple of, quick ones in there, like Milwaukee and Philly, but should be pretty entertaining overall. Do you have
Oh
any
yeah.
early picks on who you think will be in the finals, win the finals?
Win the finals. You know, uh, I think if they if they stay healthy, I think I'm gonna go Phoenix, Milwaukee for the finals.
I'm pretty sure that was my pick too in that little NBA bracket challenge. If I look at it here, I want to check that out now. So I'm pretty sure I had the Bucks over the Suns. Just when the Bucks are all there, I just think they're too talented for everyone. Um, you
It's
kind
just
of want to
what
see a
the
player
rematch
like
from
Chris
what
Paul get
two
there. Yeah.
exactly.
Um, yeah, it's exactly what I have. The Bucks over Phoenix. But yeah, that's my early inclination. Like I said, especially if they get Chris Middleton back and, and he can be at least, 70, 80% for them. That's a huge
Right.
addition to their roster. And you wonder if at any point with like Phoenix team, as good as they are, if that lack of playing time together for that roster so far might hurt them against a team more experienced playing with each other. Maybe not, but
Right.
it is something. Mentioned earlier, talking about the way the season ended. You have any final thoughts, parting shots for the way the Mavericks season ended, or where you'd like to see them go this off season?
Well, I mean, the last game I'm not mad about. I ended, the two were against Chicago, the second to last game when they sat everybody and Luka played the first quarter. I mean, I understand at that point because you're trying to say that 10th pick or we'll send the top 10 because if you don't, then of course you lose the. And I mean, more than likely we weren't going to make the playoffs anyway because even if we had won that game, we still had to beat San Antonio, and then the what was it? The Thunder had to lose to get in that 10th spot. So I'm not mad at that. I'm just mad that there's no reason we shouldn't have been in the playoff to begin with. Like we shouldn't have even got to that point that we're in that situation. Uh, you know, and honestly, I was wrong. I thought Kyrie and Luca would have been a little better together. They didn't play a lot of games together. They missed some. You know, but just not near enough defense, I guess. And then I also don't understand. I guess my biggest gripe at the end of the season was just Jason Kidd always going with Powell. I don't know why he liked Powell so much, but that was his guy. There's a lot of people saying that Jason Kidd needs to go. Because through his history, and the longer he stays, the worse he gets in locations. So we'll see. I would like, hopefully, we'll get some good luck with the lottery, and then I like to see Kyrie there another year just to run it back. A full season together. I would like to see that. I know the chances probably aren't the best, and I know there's always he's going to the Lakers thing, but I think they're going to try to do everything they can to bring him back. I would like to see a whole season with that just to see, give it a go one more time. But for Luka and Kyrie, but we'll see how all that plays out. But I guess just the overall second half of the season just kind of disappointing more than anything because we shouldn't even been in that type of situation.
For sure, for sure. I mean, what do you think? Is there any particular reason you think that it didn't work out, that it went so wrong toward the end there? Did they just trade the wrong? Did they give up too much for Kyrie? Was giving away, not re-signing Brunson a mistake? Like, is there something they're missing?
Yeah, I mean that's the. I mean, I mean, I think not resigning Brunson is definitely the biggest component of it. Because he seemed to, we see where he is with the Knicks at this point, and I think the biggest thing is 2 years ago we had the option to resign him, but they weren't sold on him, and then last year after the big playoff series, big playoff wins there, pretty much beating Utah by himself, and then because like Luka was out, and then the rest was playoff. Then the money was big, and I think Dallas felt that they could kind of do it without him, and I think we kind of underestimated the whole situation. So that'd be my biggest gripe is we should have got held on to Jalen earlier, and we kind of were behind the eight ball. Kind of got involved too late or showed interest there. So
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, if that lottery pick you get lucky and jump a few spots, that could be a real big boost. Either selecting a young guy or even using it as trade bait or something.
Exactly.
But yeah, you said you mentioned disappointing into the season, and I know how that feels as a Pels fan. Man, went from top seed in the West at one point, then Zion pulls a hamstring injury. You think, okay, maybe he'll miss a couple weeks, maybe a month. And then we didn't see Zion again for the rest of the year. Pulled his hamstring again, injured it on January 2nd, and then did not play another game. Of course, was seen, dunking the ball warm-ups before that playing game, but, they said he wasn't cleared for a 5-on-5, like full contact activity. So it's one of those perplexing things, man. Is he, is it just, is everybody kind of, the naysayers kind of right, where his body's just not made for the full NBA grind? Do they have to, load manage him better, limit him to maybe 60 some games a year and rest him periodically? Or is he just doomed to, have these types of one of these injuries every year? Or maybe is it like a Embiid situation? We forget Embiid missed his whole first 2 seasons, before he really got going. Yeah, now he's a MVP finalist. And Zion was playing at an MVP level before he got hurt. I mean, he was leading that team, and the scary part is they had only played, the big three had only played like 180 minutes together at that point. CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and Zion. So that's the tough part for the Pelicans. If you're the front office, if you're the fan base, is you've seen the potential and you just want it to have a full season's chance before you make a big drastic move. I don't think you can trade Zion at this point. Obviously, I think that window went away. You wanted to do that before his extension. But there were some promising things. You saw the emergence of Trey Murphy, who really got aggressive and started scoring in bunches toward the, especially the last couple of weeks of the season. Brandon Ingram, once he got fully healthy, showed he is a superstar in this league. He's a guy that can carry an offense. Mm-hmm. You want guys like, they really figured out how to use Jonas and down low in the center, get him more a part of that offense. Mm-hmm. But I think the problem is now next year, if you have a healthy Zion, what's your starting 5 between CJ? Do you drop Trey back down to a 6-man role, or did he earn a starting spot? Is Herb Jones a guy you drop because he's he's an all NBA defender seemingly, but his offense is too inconsistent. I mean, he had a couple of big games toward the end of the year too, but he's a guy, if he can get a consistent 3-point shot. Yeah. Do you trade Jonas, try to go smaller? It's interesting all season for the Pelicans, and they'll have a lottery pick too. But yeah, I can see it was a disappointing year, just the way things went and how far they fell off after that Zion injury for a little while before they regrouped, because they were in such a well position even without him. At least, I mean, they had a chance. Even on the last day, they still had a chance if things fell right to get into one of that 5 or 6 seed. But yeah, that's it's just one of those tough what ifs. And even for neutral, you want to see Zion succeed, I think, just because he's so special. But it's just
talented guy. You just want to
you just want to see him
get to that point where he can play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want him to be like a Greg Oden situation where he just never is able to get his career
Right.
going. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
And
or
that's the thing because, when it comes, and then everybody's going to call him a bust. But if he was more injury prone and then more so than his talent, then, you falls in that gray category. Is he really a bust or is he just unlucky? Because I consider a bust someone that just doesn't, that plays but doesn't ever turn into anything compared to someone who couldn't get healthy. But, hopefully they figure it out or, um, whether it be his mental, whether it be his diet, whether, whatever, or, them finding a way to, keep him healthy, whether it be load management or, different things that the training staff needs to do with them to figure out what works to where he can play an entire season. And most importantly, the second half of the season when they're going to need him the most.
yeah. Um, but yeah, so disappointing end for our teams specifically, but
Oh, yeah.
well, it's fun to watch the playoffs as a neutral too.
Right.
And I did it
Yeah.
for years. I never really got back into the NBA until a few years ago, and hooked on the
Mhm.
Pelicans while living in New Orleans, and have fun from there. So,
Yeah.
we shall see. We'll see if Giannis and the Bucks can win it again. We'll see if maybe Chris Paul can get his first, if LeBron can add another, if
Right.
the process
A
pays
lot
off
of
in Philly.
storylines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some good storylines going. But that should be it. Unless you have any other NBA thoughts.
No, I think, for the most part, we, like I said, we're just in for some, good playoffs. A lot of good storylines, a lot of good possible matchups, and I think it's gonna be a fun time through now through June.
All right, then we'll move on. Yeah, I guess nothing. I don't really want to touch on anything from basketball, UConn, or your champs. Uh, I think we both, knew that was going to happen. San Diego State valiant run, but UConn just was too talented and too hot at the right time.
They got
Uh,
hot at the right time, ran through the tournament.
yeah, just really not a close game for them at all.
No,
Uh, on the Alabama side of things, we're still looking to see. A lot of guys have declared.
a
A lot of guys have put in
lot of
transfer
change.
portal, but you never know who's actually going to go and then come back. Who they
Yeah,
might pull in as
I
a
guess.
transfer.
Yeah,
They
that's
did.
gonna be that's interesting. It's just who we're gonna if we're gonna if we're gonna pull anybody from that transfer portal, and then filling out the rest of the coaching staff more than anything. Because I think our biggest thing with the coaching staff is losing Antoine Petway. I'm happy for him that he's getting his head coach head coaching opportunity there. But man, I think he was key to a lot of our recruiting there. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, they did get actual little connection here. They got a Pelicans assistant to join their staff.
Yeah, I
Kind of
saw that.
unprecedented offseason for Alabama basketball. They lost all three assistant coaches, which is just not the thing that happens in basketball a lot. But Ryan Pannone, however you pronounce his name, he was the G League coach for the Pelicans in the Birmingham squad.
Yep.
Played a similar style of offense, kind of wide open, but heavy on the threes. Had coached all over, kind of coached in stops in Israel, Germany, in Asia. Been a JUCO and high school coach in the U.S. So he's kind of been all over the place. But yeah, as you mentioned, we all three head coaches for Alabama. Brian Hodgson went to Arkansas State, Charlie Henry to Georgia Southern, and Petway to Kennesaw for head
Yep.
coaches. So good for congratulations to all them. But we'll see how Nate Oates fills out his staff. We'll see who comes back.
Right.
Um, you
Yeah, because
know,
I would have to think. Well, I think Sears and Bediako and JQ all come back. That's just my thought, but we'll see how it plays out.
yeah, I tend to agree with you. Sears probably needs, he's got, I think, 2 years left of eligibility. Probably needs some more
Yeah.
season in the college game, especially in a leadership role, before he gets drafted. Bediako definitely has potential. I could see him as maybe a second round pick, but you definitely would love to see him back in the middle for the Tide.
Yeah.
JQ, who knows? A lot of Bama fans would probably be upset if he came back, but that's senior leadership, and when he plays at his best, man, he's really good. And really important to the team. You would love a scenario where Noah Clowney somehow decides to stay, but I just keep seeing his name as a lottery pick. Tough to turn that down.
I think he's gone. But so something crazy happens. I think he's gone.
Yeah, you see Jaden Bradley, of course, is in the portal. We don't, maybe he just needs a change of scenery. But early projections on Alabama, way too early bracketology by Lunardi had Alabama's a 2 seed next year. And then like a too early top 25. Let's see. I think I saw us a little further down there, 11th. Yeah,
11.
I think so. I've seen them in that. And then one projected start lineup here for them is Bradley, Sears, the transfer Walton from Wichita State, Riley Griffin, and Bediako. So it's just big on who's coming back.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Too early for that.
All right.
We'll move.
a lot of moving parts there.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of sliding doors, a lot of moving parts. That baseball, Major League Baseball's gotten started. A couple weeks ago, gotten going. Right now, good starts for. Let's see. I'm looking at the standings. I had them pulled up right now. Of course, the Rays had that 10-0 start. They're 13-2, best record in the bigs right now. Braves are hot over there in the National League. They're just, that lineup looks as good as everyone thought it could be. Just mashing runs right now. I believe they lead the league in runs, or at least no. The Rays still actually. The Rays have scored 100 runs already in 15 games. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a hot start to the season so far. A couple pitching injuries as usual, but no big games lost with the pitch clock yet. That seems to be, though, everybody early returns on that. Everyone seems to be enjoying it. The games are kind of flowing, moving right along.
Yeah.
Stolen bases are up. That's always fun. We're not quite at the 80s level yet. We're probably not going to get people stealing 100 bases. But
not gonna get to Ricky Henderson. Right?
Yeah, we're not get those Ricky Henderson days, man. It's just crazy to think about that, though. I mean, that's a lot of stolen bases. It looks like kind of that the fix to the shift is allowing for more hits too. It's kind of making a more entertaining game so far early this year.
A lot of high scoring games.
Yeah, a lot more runs so far.
Yeah.
But I like it. Stolen bases are fun. They should be a bigger part of the game. Adds more strategy. Sure. Especially with pitchers only allowed 2 pickoffs per at bat. If you do it, I haven't seen it personally yet. Watch any games, but be interested if just a pitcher out of habit like throws a couple quick pickoffs, in like early in the count, and then realizes, oh man, and then you gotta that runner's basically just like, all right, sweet, free base. You can probably see the veterans that are, the older guys that are tougher adjusting to everything, but but it's I think fun so far. Anything to say about your team or anything in general?
Well, the Yankees, they've up and down a little bit. No, they gave up that 9 spot on Friday night, but most part things are kind of are where they are. Had some good games, but kind of in that middle ground there. But it's just such a long season that you can't really overreact or at this point of the year. I guess it's just a matter of you know, both our teams, your team, my team, it's not so much making the playoffs; it's where you go in the playoffs, as we know. So,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a long way till we kind of know what the success of the season, and I think the franchise pretty much, not to the World Series, it's kind of a disappointing season. So,
Yeah,
um,
sure.
but
I know up there in the Bronx, Garrett Cole's just looking just as good as ever up there.
he's been nasty. Yeah, he's been
Yeah.
nasty, and he's living up to the hype, and that's always the thing. A lot of people come to New York as look good coming into it and just haven't made it in New York for one reason or another. But he's is last year at times you're like maybe, but he's really seems to have it down. So yeah, just a matter of everybody else pitchers around him and staying consistent with the hitting.
Yeah, for sure. Now, as you mentioned, it's a long season. You know,
Yeah,
can't really judge any predictions based on what we've seen so far. I mean, we talk about the Braves last year, 10.5 out in June, July, something like that, and came back and won the
right.
division. The Phillies kind of thought to be dead at some point, and they came back, nearly won the whole thing. So,
It was right.
yeah. But yeah, like I said, so far the returns are good on the new rules. Everything's making it look fun
Oh
out
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Let's see. Elsewhere in the sports world, kind of going back to NBA, fun little, well, not for him maybe, but E40, Bay Area rap legend got thrown out of the Warriors Kings game yesterday,
Out of the way.
and he is mad about it.
Yeah. So
So
you're just
interesting to see what goes there. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it sounds like you're just talking trash with the fans, and I don't know. I guess they thought it was a little. I guess they didn't like how it looked with E40, and they took him out the game for whatever that's worth. But I did see that, but man, big Warriors fan there. So we'll see if he's back in Sacramento and all for the rest of the series.
Yeah, yeah. And see if he goes back to Sacramento or if he maybe gets a special courtside seat and once they're back in the Bay,
So yeah,
they play that up.
he'll be
Yeah,
courtside in the Bay.
for sure. Of course, still nothing NFL news. The Ravens got Odell Beckham. Good pickup. I can't even remember if we talked about that last time or not. I don't think it happened that had happened yet, but
I don't think it has happened quite. Yeah.
no. Uh, I don't think anybody thinks they're getting 2015 of OBJ or whatever, but it's a solid pickup for a team that needs some good receivers, and if it's something that helps
Right.
Lamar decide to stay, then that's your big thing, and it's worth the money.
Yeah. Exactly.
I saw one rumor that said, of course, never know how much truth to take out of them, but it said, basically Lamar's demands were that they get OBJ and trade for DeAndre Hopkins, which, as great as that would be, I don't know if they could quite handle that, but so we'll
Lot
see.
of money.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
money. Have to give up a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. NFL, we're still in that holding pattern, waiting on the draft.
Right.
Like we said, baseball is too early in the season. Neither of us really watch the NHL to really be able to talk about that too much. I'll put.
Yeah. Not too great. I claim to be a Stars fan. I watch some of the playoffs, but yeah, I can sit there and tell you. I guess I'm more of a playoff and highlight type of guy more than anything. Yeah, I can't claim to be an expert.
Yeah, sure. Same way. I grew up a Penguins fan. The person that got me
Right.
into hockey was from Western PA and was a big Lemieux and Yager
Right.
fan growing up. And then
Oh yeah.
just that when they locked them out and missed the whole season, canceled the Stanley Cup, that was kind of it for me.
Yeah.
Just the NHL. Gary Bettman's an awful commissioner. But I still love the
Well,
game of hockey. I grew up playing hockey, so I love to check out. Like you said, I'll watch playoffs for sure. I'll catch a playoff game every now and again. It's fun, and it's not a lot like NHL playoff hockey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to make any predictions. I couldn't tell you anything about who's the best team or what going on now.
Right.
Elsewhere, let's see. Things
A
heating up
lot
in
of
the
spring
Premier
games
League.
going on. Yeah.
The what? Spring games. Yeah, a lot of spring
I
games
was
and
saying
college football
a
going on.
lot of spring games. And that's another thing. You kind of just take it with a grain of salt because spring games are spring games. It's just glorified practice, but a lot is taken away from it. But we know a lot of everything comes in the summer and the fall camp more than anything. So
Yeah, it appears that Sark has said that Quinn Ewers will be the Texas starting
starter.
quarterback right now. We'll see if that holds up again through summer practice and all that.
Yeah. Just
Transfer
say
portal is open
as
right
Brandon.
now.
Yeah, that'll be big because that transfer portal, boy, that changes a few teams really quickly depending on who they get. I know one of the Georgia defensive linemen just was going into the portal. I heard he might be going to USC, but that's open. But yeah, that transfer portal for some teams, you get a few pieces and really changes your whole lineup. I know Florida State's done a lot in the transfer portal, but we'll
Yeah, that
get
was
where they're at.
Bear Alexander, the guy you're thinking of.
Yeah, Bear. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, that's where teams at this point of the year they can kind of add, maybe just a little missing pieces um, to try to plug holes.
Yeah.
Especially after spring practice, you see maybe what if you have any freshmen that enrolled early, see if they're going to be good enough. But even then, you really don't know things until after your August practice, and even then, until the first couple of
Right.
games of the season.
Exactly. 'Cause it's just yeah. But
But
yeah,
yeah,
we'll
A Day
have
is
all the next Saturday.
next Saturday, so we'll know more then. Um, what do you think about this report? Who was it? Hugh Freeze and some people have come out saying that they should play more official scrimmages in the spring, like Alabama should play Troy or UAB or something. Is that something you'd buy into, or uh,
I mean, I think it'd be cool, but I don't ever see it happening. So I'm not gonna, ever, you know. But it'd be I think the fans would enjoy that. You're playing a UAB or a Troy. I think that would really. But I mean, I don't know how much that would ever come to be, or how much that helps or not. I don't know, but I think that'd be big cool for the fans. But I just don't see uh, enough people agreeing on that to ever turn into a real thing there.
yeah, and I saw someone make a good point on Twitter too that it's great in theory and it could be real fun for the fans especially, but at what point the schools or somebody's going to try to make money off of it, and then all of a sudden you start charging for spring games, and that's where you mess up. 'Cause spring games a lot of time for people that can't afford tickets to maybe a real
Exactly.
game. They get down there, they get in the stadium. You can sit wherever you want, as long as first come first serve. You can get yourself 50-yard line seats.
Yeah.
Down in the lower bowl, it's cool to see. Tuscaloosa in the spring is a different beast than Tuscaloosa in the fall. Spring was always my favorite time of year in Tuscaloosa.
Oh yeah. Me
Or
too.
summer when the students were gone. But uh, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a slippery slope. I think it's just like all good things in life. Eventually, people start trying to make money off of them. So I think keep it as
Yeah.
is.
Some schools already charge. I can't I know some schools charge like $10-15 for the spring game. I know Alabama's never really charged for it, but other schools charge like 10. I mean, that's not bad, but I was kind of shocked. I was like, wow. I
Yeah,
know it's like
like you said,
Nebraska
that's not.
too. They charge I mean, that's not bad. $10, but
But yeah, you start getting other teams in there, then they're just going to treat it, even if it's like, I've seen some people say, oh, that's when the FCS game should be. And that's not a bad suggestion either. If you make a rule that says you can't play lower division teams in a regular season. Maybe you scrimmage them, but again, that's still a slope that you want to charge money for it, and I just don't think you should. If make
And
all that
then,
money off the concessions,
right,
but
right. And then the other thing you look at too, and it kind of may end up hurting the little guy is. Let's say the transfer portal's open. Somebody at UAB looks really good. Maybe someone comes to, hey, come to Alabama, come to Auburn. They pull them after seeing them, in that scrimmage situation, and they put up big numbers against the big guy. Hey, someone's gonna pull them, and then that's gonna hurt mid-level team there. But
yeah, that's a
even the
good point.
FCS team,
Yeah,
another big player pull them out, pull them. Hey, why wouldn't if you're if let's say a FCS quarterback, he's a talented guy, but maybe didn't get a lot of offers. He comes in, he throws for 300 yards against Alabama or Auburn, and there's a spring game situation. What's to stop them from being, hey, you want to come to Alabama, you want to come to Auburn, or other SEC teams play somebody? I mean, it's going to be hard for the FCS team to even keep a guy like that. So that's another thing that they have to look at. I mean,
yeah, it's absolutely like that's a great point. A guy that like you said, got overlooked might want to show out, even if it's just a spring game, and then next thing you know, the big schools are like, oh, you know what? Maybe we do like him, and sneak in there and try to take him, and then also you got to think maybe guys that want to prove themselves against a bigger team, maybe they go a little hard, or you go a little harder because it's not your own guys you're playing against, and maybe there's more injuries.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
good idea in theory. I just think in practice it could had some more
yeah. I
negative
don't know.
effects. Yeah,
Right.
but that's about all I have from in the world of sports. Nothing else I want to touch on. Anything you think we missed? Want to touch on for a little bit?
I think for the most part we covered a lot there. We're kind of in a holding pattern for the NFL and the draft and everything, and you know, yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we will be on hiatus for about a month or so. While I'm down here working for the New Orleans Jazz Fest. Uh, maybe if something huge happens, I don't know, we might try to hop on for a quick emergency episode, but that's time permitting, of course. Otherwise, maybe just might pop something up on the Take website. But yeah, so in the meantime, like I said, check out everything else on the Alabama Take website. All the podcasts we got going, Alabama Slam, Taking It Down. This Song Sucks is in the new season. They got one per month going, all kinds of stuff. Writings on the website. Greg, where else can people find you if they want to hear something?
Well, I haven't been on a lot recently, but I do have my own podcast, Riding with Boz. Probably have some thoughts with the NFL draft coming up. Usually just pretty much can be found anywhere where you get your podcasts when I post them, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music, just pretty much generates all locations there. But Riding with Boz is the name of the podcast.
All right, then. Well, then, of course, before we go, what's been done up real good for you?
Oh, done up real good for me, kid. Yesterday my daughter was at the state championship, her junior high or middle school for the science Olympiad. She got a personal medal in one of her competitions that she was part of, and her team was a couple points away from actually going to the nationals. But came in second in the entire state, so that was pretty cool.
Well, that is pretty cool, man. Raising a smart one there.
Yeah. How about you? Yeah,
Uh,
she's a little genius.
for me, just being back in New Orleans is always fun. We lived down here for
Oh,
7 years or so. it's always a good time seeing people we work with every year. Got the kid with us, got grandmas and friends coming down to help watch them while we're working. So, of course, everyone, all of our New Orleans people excited to meet him. It's just always fun being back in the city for a little bit. Asked me again in a month when I've, lost about 15 pounds through sweat alone. But yeah, but it's been good. But, yeah, so that's it. As I said before, thanks again for listening, folks. Another reminder, we'll be on hiatus for a little bit. So, follow us on Twitter, Taking On Sports. I'll try to, sprout some opinions on there. Other than that, y'all, take it easy, man.